Yes, folks, hello, welcome once again to MoDXtra Games and Collectibles. It's time for another action figure review here on the channel, and as you can see on the screen in front of you, today's installment is going to be taking a closer look at the G.I. Joe Classified Series 60th Anniversary Action Pilot Halo Jumper. That's right, folks, I'm finally getting around to reviewing this one, and I know it's been around for a little while and you've probably watched other reviews, but I don't know, you might be interested in my thoughts, and if you are, or maybe you've not made your mind up as to whether you want to buy one of these just yet and whether it's worthy of your hard-earned cash, well, then I've got the review here for you. So stick around, because I'm going to talk you through all the ins and outs, ups and downs that you need to know about the figure. I'm going to take a quick look at the packaging and discuss the peg presence of the box and what it's like for MIB collectors. Then I'm going to move on to the figure itself, talk about the aesthetic qualities and the visual experience, talk about the articulation and posability, and then have a rundown of all the extras and added value that is included. And with all that said and done, by the end, you'll have a good thorough view of what the 60th Anniversary Halo Jumper is all about. So let's get into it, and let's jump back in time to meet with past Chris as he takes a look at the box on the day it arrived on his doorstep. My doorstep. You know past Chris is me, right? Yeah? Okay then, folks, well, here is the 60th Anniversary Action Pilot Halo High Altitude Low Opening Jumper in box. We'll take a quick peek at the packaging for the mint in box collectors and have a look at the peg presence of the figure, and you can see that it's in the 60th anniversary design, so it's got the 60th anniversary logo here on the front. It's got this lighter coloured 60th anniversary motif, a little bit of artwork in the corner here of the Halo jumper looking over his shoulder, and then of course the big window piece at the front there showing off the figure and all the goodies, including in the background there the oh shit, what's the word? Parachute, including the parachute at the back there. Then on the back here, you can see we've got the digital render of the Halo jumper. That's on the deck of the USS Flag with a Sky Striker in the background there. And then a couple of breakout windows with some highlighted features like the helmet and the face paint and the little altitude wrist indicator thingamadoodad, all the legal bollocks and malarkey across the bottom. I've got the import sticker here because mine's come from an independent retailer here in the UK, In Demand Toys to be precise, who import their figs from the Far East. So that's the back, looking nice. Then got all this kind of 60th anniversary cool funky stuff in the pattern there in the background. Sepia version of the artwork, the QR code to nowhere, and then a little action shot of the Halo jumper with his parachute on, and more legal bollocks and malarkey on the bottom. So there we go, folks. Not a great deal else to report about the packaging. It looks eye-catching enough to me. So I'm going to go and crack this bad boy open, get some good quality man-child playtime in, and I'll return in a few days with some review thoughts. So stick around, because future Chris will return with those review thoughts in 3, 2, 1... Here we are then, folks. Here is the Halo jumper then, the core figure, and let's have a bit of a chat about the aesthetic qualities, the visual experience of the core figure to begin with, and then we'll kind of expand on that when we add some of the elements from his accessory selection that alters up his visual identity a little bit. But as you can see, it is essentially, well, not essentially, it is a repaint of Airborne. Head to toe. I've examined the sculpt very closely. The only thing that I can find that's any different is this little altitude meter thing on his wrist, which we'll have a look at when I zoom in a minute. And so if you liked Airborne, in theory, you'll like the Halo jumper. Obviously, his colour scheme is entirely different, so he's in a much more kind of traditional green camo pattern with the two shades of green, the brown and the kind of black streaky lightning bolty bits in there. The vest has obviously been repainted. The insignias that are on him are different, and of course he's camo painted up on his face as well. But if you're a fan of the Airborne sculpt, then you're going to be a fan of this sculpt ultimately. Just whether you're a fan of the colour scheme, I suppose. Moving in a bit closer then so that we can inspect the finer details. There's a view of the head sculpt. Like I say, it's the same as Airborne's. It's a good head sculpt, and the fact that it's camo painted means that some of the kind of finer detail in the sculpt doesn't stand out quite as much as it does on the core figure, but it is the same. You know, all the facial features and the sculpting is in there. I kind of like the way the eyes are set in amongst the camo painted face. The paint applications of the camo pattern is also very good, and it clearly works because I had to add extra lighting onto him to make him stand out well against the dark background I've got there. So it's clearly making a difference. sense. But yeah, good quality head sculpt. I liked Airborne. I like this one. But with the camo paint there, it separated him just enough away from Airborne that it's not too much of an issue. You know, it doesn't feel like you got too much repetition going on the shell. Not that that matters much anyway, because some of the accessory stuff will make a difference, as I'll show you later on. Outside of that, though, we've got all the same sculpted details, so the grenade, the knife sheath, all the different kind of, you know, got some C-clips on there, all the studs and belt buckles and things are on there, the two different shades of green, different insignia on the front, got like a little kind of hawk thing there, and then we've got an insignia on the side, the stars and stripes on the left shoulder, and then some sort of military identifying patch there on the right shoulder there, which looks suspiciously like a cannabis leaf. The webbing straps here are a bit of a fuss and a faff again, just like they were on Airborne. They ride up and you have to sort of try and pull them down and manipulate them a bit to make it look flush and smooth, and it does look a bit plasticky. This green that they've used here makes it look a lot more plasticky than it did on Airborne, who was in brown, and a couple of paint applications on there might have broken that up, like they painted the buckle or did something with the studs. Got the nice fabric texture detail in the main uniform and things like the sculpting on the knee pads, which is lovely. I mentioned that the main core difference between this and Airborne was this wrist altitude meter here, which is a nice look. It's got the paint application, or a decal maybe, on that there with the altitude and some lines and things. I don't know how to read an altitude meter. Altimeter? Altitude meter? Whatever they're called, but it looks accurate enough for my ignorant eyes, and adds to the little storytelling piece with the character as well. I sometimes find the camo colours, the camo paint schemes, a little bit pedestrian, which I know, I've said it before, is obviously a ridiculous thing to say. It's a collector of a military line, but I like this one. It stands out well enough. And even though it does blend into the crowd a bit, it's you'll see later when I add some of the accessories, they give it a much more kind of shelf presence, much more standout kind of visual identity in amongst everything else, over and above Airborne, in fact, although I am probably going to use some of these bits on Airborne himself. So yeah, straight up, thumbs up on the aesthetic. I like the colour scheme. I like the face camo paint. I enjoyed the Airborne sculpt the first time around. I enjoy it again this time around. Could it have done with a few features in there to separate him visually a bit more from Airborne? Yes, it could. But like I say, as you'll see when I get the accessories on him later, he's got stuff that does that, you know, through the added value add-ons. So yeah, I'm liking it. It's good. Thumbs up. Right, let's take a look at his articulation now then, shall we? Getting started up top then, we've got a ball in the base of the head, ball at the bottom of the neck, which gives us decent down, full 360 all the way around, but okay-ish up. Actually, I thought this might be a little bit restricted by the collar there, but it's not. And then, you know, a bit of tilt and movement around on the ball there. Moving down into the shoulder, there's a butterfly joint there with some shuffle back and forward. Pegged in the shoulder, which gives you full 360, and then the hinges on it, which will give you a T-shape. Swivel at the top of the bicep and tricep. Pinless double elbow that will get you up to there. And then the pegged in hands that can do full 360 in the wrist. And then we've got up and down hinges, folks. But the way that this cuff comes over on top of the glove makes it a little bit difficult to make good use of the up and down hinge. Into the body, and I'm sure under there is the standard ab crunch, but it's very, obviously, very difficult to use, make good use of with this body piece on. However, the ball joint in the waist can give you some swivel and some turn. You're just affected mostly by the placement of this webbing down here. Got the standard G.I. Joe drop-down joint in the hips there, which gives you decent forward. Big old Russian ballet there. That's an interesting way to land after you jump, isn't it? And then a swivel at the top of the thigh. Pinless double knee, that'll get you up to there. And then the boot swivel sits underneath the lower piece here, the ankle piece on the trousers, so you can swivel. And then you've got the hinge and rocker on the feet. That's standard. So it's a thumbs up for articulation, standard G.I. Joe classified series stuff. The only thing is really that it's a bit of a shame you can't get a bit more movement out of the torso area but that's not uncommon with G.I. Joe Classified, is it, when they've got these big combat vests and such like on. So overall, it's good. I've been able to get him into some interesting poses and do a bit of storytelling with him. I'm fine and dandy, happy with what I'm seeing. So there you go. There's the articulation rundown. Okay, let's now take a close look at the accessories and added value, shall we? So one of the unique selling points, one of the key kind of features to the Halo jumper is all the included Halo jumping stroke parachuting gear. It was certainly what attracted me to the figure, because not only was I like fine to have a redo of Airborne, I liked Airborne, but I really wanted all this lovely gear, and it does change up the look a great deal if you engage with this. So you've got all these kind of Halo jumping helmet here with the protective visor, the helmet, and then the breathing mask with this kind of air hose down into, well, I don't know, well, that's like little air tanks or something there. This looks really cool. Love this. Got a lot of flavor, brings a lot of personality to the figure when it's stood on the shelf next to others. Practically, it's fine. The visor plugs in, and then you've got hinges on either side to bring it up and down like so. And then the breathing mask at the front pegs in to these little holes at the side there. They are those soft, squidgy pegs, so sometimes it's a bit, you have to just sort of like manipulate it to make sure it's a good grip, but it's fine. And then I'll show you a bit later on the oxygen pack thing has got a peg on the back of it to fit into the parachute backpack, but I'll show you that in a sec. But let's put this on him because he looks awesome in this. And now he just looks like a whole new figure, doesn't he? Look at that. Just badass. Got this whole like painted section on the back of the helmet there, and all the sculpted details, and a really shiny visor, and the breather mask fits fine. You can slide that up to see the eyes underneath. Yeah, this is really cool, and this hose curves around underneath and into that space there really, really well. So properly into this. Love this. Then we've got the big old chute pack. You can see some sculpted details in there and the texture details in there, which is nice. All one single colour, though, which is a bit of a disappointment. We've got this strap system on the front here and a backpack peg, so it can fit on him really, really secure. You've got a little pegged belt front here, and then the shoulder straps, and then the peg to go in the backpack peg. Mine came out the box a little bit janky, a little bit deformed. It's kind of fallen into some semblance of shape, but it is quite rigid. These straps are quite rigid, which can be a little problematic for some of the poses that I've tried to get him into. And then we've also got a peg there to be able to open up the backpack to load in the chute, which is really exciting as well. There we go. I've just slid it over his arms off camera, but then you just do the belt peg on the front here like so, and then we got the hole at the side there for the peg for the breathing apparatus. Definitely makes him a little bit bulkier on the front, and it sits a bit funny on the top of the the sculpted on features on the figure. For example, this strap here coming over the left shoulder like sits on the top of the grenade there, so you have to sort of angle it out like that, and then it just sort of bunches up and looks silly. And it makes him a bit bulkier on the front, and what I've also observed is this stuff makes it a little bit more difficult for him to bear arms across his chest. However, the novelty factor and the playtime factor with this stuff outweighs any criticisms I might have of that nature. And then we have the chute there, so it's in like this greeny colour with these kind of contour lines drawn in on it. Opens up to a circular parachute shape, got the hole at the top there, which is all fine and dandy, folds up nicely for packing in the backpack, as you may see fit. Then we got the strings coming down like so, got the 6 strings there, and then we've got this little tag section on the bottom with another little peg hole which fits into the inside of the backpack lid. You see we've got this other peg hole here. So you kind of, well, at least I believe this is how it's done. You fit that on there, and then if you're anything like me, you just cram it in without a care in the world. But I'm sure many of you out there are not like me and will neatly fold it and add it to the backpack. Yeah, so as you can see, I'm obviously still a child at heart, and I just cram it in. I just cram this fucker in. Just mash it in, basically. Then we have his weapons loadout. He's got some small arms here with the pistol and the knife. These are the same as what came with Airborne there. These are fine. The pistol fits in the holster on his thigh, and the knife fits in the sheath across the chest. Not the biggest fan of this green plastic colour, if I'm being perfectly honest. Just pop that in there. Pop that in there. It does frustrate me with the holster that we've got this little silencer holding bit, but I'll show you the silencer that comes with it in a minute. It's not the suppressor that comes with the pistol, and so it doesn't fit in the holes. It's just like a surplus to requirement piece, which is always something that bothers me when we've got reuse of this nature going on. I just chuck it in. You know what I mean? Just chuck it in. Then we have his rifle selection. We've seen all of these weapons before, but again, it's sculpted in this janky green colour rather than in the black that we're used to. So we've got kind of a bit more of a rifly thing with a sight on it there. Then we've got another rifly thing with a sight and a grenade launchery thing on it there. And then we've got like a double-handled buttless thing. And then there's the suppressor piece that fits in amongst all these. As you can see, I've had a little bit of plastic kind of degrading there. It was all bent out of shape, taking it out of the packet. But all this stuff I think came with the I remember seeing them with the Viper triple pack, but I know I've got several of these guns. These are all fine, and they've got the usual G.I. Joe thing like removable magazines and whatnot. I think that may have been really out of focus footage of those there, the autofocus playing around, but I'm sure you get the gist. And it comes with an alternative helmet. This is the one from the Airborne loadout. So we've got the helmet there, got a nice little bit of paint application on the kind of ear protectors, headphone-y pieces. It's got a little clip-on piece on the front that you can also add the goggles to, like so. We've also got the covered, packaged-in goggles that was on the Airborne loadout that, again, you can just sort of strap across the top there if you're so inclined. And then the eye goggles that you can put across his face if you want to have him wearing these without a helmet on at all. That's all okay. Gives it a bit more of an alternative look, but nice that it's uniformal with Airborne, so it's got that kind of uniform element in the sense of, you know, the gear is consistent. And then finally, it comes with the 60th anniversary foot stand in this kind of darker brown colour there, but it's the standard foot stand we see with the 60th anniversary and the retro figures with the Joe logo embossed in it and the 2 foot pegs. I like these well enough. They're decent. I think every G.I. Joe Classified figure should come with one of these, regardless of it being retro, mainline, anniversary special, whatever. So I'm totally giving the accessory selection a thumbs up there. I like what we got here. The parachute and halo jumping gear alone sells me on the figure, if I'm being perfectly honest, because it's super fun. I didn't go in on the Dragonfly, so I haven't got crazy legs either to bring that into the collection. So it's a nice storytelling piece. Yeah, it's all, generic reuse in the guns and that, but that's fine. I'm not the biggest fan of the green coloured weaponry either, but I can live with that to have more stuff. But I like the Airborne reuse, the loadout stuff there, because it's just, like I said before, it makes it consistent and uniform in terms of approach. And again, it's just useful stuff to have around to use on other figures and whatnot. So I'm a happy chappy, but mostly he's going to be staying like this with his Halo gear, Halo jumping helmet and visor on, because it looks badass. I really like that. Well, let's have a look at him now next to a couple of other G.I. Joe Classified characters. Okay, well, I mentioned him a few times this review. Here's Airborne, which is obviously the main body book that the Halo jumper is based on, but as you can see with the paint scheme, the color scheme differences, and the introduction of the Halo jumping gear, there's enough of a unique visual identity between the two to separate them on the shelf. Jumping into the 60th anniversary subline, here is the infantry trooper paired up with the Halo jumper there, so you can see the two of these guys together, how they might look if you were, displaying by category on your shelf. Here's the Halo jumper next to Alpine from the most recent wave, because, well, it's the most recent wave, and I've got the most recent wave out, and he was hanging around. It's as simple as that, really. And here's the Halo jumper with the Fresh Monkey Fiction Naughty or Nice Father Christmas figure, because I'm recording this video at the back end of November, and folks, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go. Okay, folks, well, here is the Halo jumper going around on the turntable, so you can get a 360 peek at the figure. Now I've slammed all the accessories on, and I'll offer us some final thoughts while you enjoy, poring over the feel, the look and feel of the figure. And yeah, overall, I'm happy with it. I have to confess, I haven't really found my display pose for him yet. I feel like, I've mentioned this before, like I've skipped some of the sort of aquatic nautical characters like the divers, because I'm like, oh, how do you put them on a shelf? What do you do? And this guy's obviously supposed to be, you know, just falling through the air in a parachute, and just can't quite figure out how to display him. So I'll get there. It will come in time. However, despite the kind of shelf display situation, I've taken some nice photos. I've definitely had good man-child playtime. I've been fiddling and fidgeting about with him and messing around and like actually playing like and stuff. It's been brilliant. So, you know, it depends what you're looking for from the figure. But if anyone's got any suggestions, then let me know how you've kind of posed up your Halo jumper, your 60th anniversary Halo jumper. But yeah, I'm happy. What do you want from your figure? Lots of playtime. But my concerns about him being too similar to Airborne, I think, were have been put to rest because, as I showed you before, you put them next to each other, and even though the book's the same, the colour scheme and the change up in accessory selection that adds to the visual feel, the aesthetic feel of the character, means that they don't sit too similarly when you've got them next to each other on a shelf, which I'm really pleased with. So there you go, thumbs up. This is a recommends. Just everyone as he's going around there, just ignore the fact that I'm clearly incapable of packing a parachute into a backpack. All right, well, that brings me to the end of the review. If you haven't picked up a Halo jumper yet and you've been thinking about it, I hope my review has helped get you off the fence and make a decision either way, whether this is the figure for you to spend your hard-earned cash on. If you have found it useful or interesting, then please do hit the like button, blah, 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 all that YouTube stuff. If you're not already subscribed, then subscribe. It'd be really lovely. I'm creeping up on 2,000 subs, folks. It'd be really lovely if I could hit 2,000 by the close of the year. It'd be an excellent Christmas present. So if you've got a friend who you think might like my stuff, who's possibly not watching me, then drop them send a recommendation their way, see if they can get them to get on board the MoDXtra Games and Collectibles viewing community train. Otherwise, have a great day, have a great week, and I'll see you around these parts again sometime soon, folks. All right, take it easy.